Why is people always messing with the Batmans? I think it's safe to say that Batman definitely has the greatest rogues gallery in all of comic books history. And why is that? Well, if you ask me, I think it's because there's a certain psychological reason why Batman's baddies are always seen as the best collection of villains that any superhero could possibly have. What is that psychological reason? Well, it's the topic of this episode, because today... The reason why I think Batman's bad guys work just so well for The Dark Knight is because I think each of them share a trait with Batman himself that could be seen as less than desirable. However, the way the villains do it shows you why it's a bad idea and why Batman actually is the hero even though he possesses the same qualities. What am I talking about? Well, let's go down this rogues gallery and break it down one by one. Starting us off is the Scarecrow. Now this one is a fairly obvious one. Criminals are a superstitious and cowardly lot, as Batman himself would put it, and he strikes fear into Gotham's underworld. And as scary as Batman is, he does, however, have his limits, as seen in The New Frontier, where Batman changes his costume because he wants to scare criminals and not kids. Dr. Jonathan Crane, on the other hand, uses fear as a weapon, uses it to terrorize Gotham or to rob banks or to just study what it does to people. And not just people who are bad, but anybody and everybody is fair game as far as the Scarecrow is concerned. Batman is often regarded as one of the top 2 smartest humans in the DC universe, and while number 1, Lex Luthor, has been a frequent foil of Bats, which I tend to like it whenever the two of them go against each other, Batman's usual brain-based foe is Edward Nygma, the Riddler. A character who often has a strong desire to be Batman's intellectual superior. Plus, overall, Batman's enemies in general are often seen to have some kind of smarts to them. The Joker has concocted a whole host of chemical cocktails and even switched DNA with Tim Drake. Mr. Freeze is also a genius scientist, Two-Face was the district attorney, and so on and so forth. But speaking of which, Harvey's duality has often been a major function of the character. Batman himself is often caught at the crossroads of being both Bruce Wayne and being Batman. And while trying to live a double life as two very different people can be absolutely maddening and also seen as being very deceptive, at least he isn't Two-Face, who let the darker side completely take over, only to be occasionally held at bay by the whim of a coin. The ultimate strategist, the ultimate fighter, Batman is also considered to be one of the very best in hand-to-hand combat. And in the Nightfall comic, Bane was created to take down the Dark Knight by beating him at his very own game. And in the Chris Nolan film, the connection between the two of them has become even stronger by giving them similar backgrounds with the League of Shadows and with Ra's al Ghul. And while we're on that topic, a man looking to find a worthy successor to his cause of bringing the world to order and justice. Well, that pretty much sounds just like Batman, and at the end of Chris Nolan's Dark Knight trilogy, we even saw Batman doing exactly that by handing down his mantle. Now, the parallels between Ra's al Ghul and Bruce Wayne are very strong, but you know what? The entire movie Batman Begins already covered that very nicely. Bruce Wayne has said that his superpower is being rich. Well, so is Oswald Cobblepot, another member of Gotham's elite who comes from old money, but at least Batman is using his 1% status for good. Oh, and this could also apply to the Court of Owls as well. Batman is known as a cold, emotionless character who turned off his ability to care about people after experiencing a tragedy. Mr. Freeze is a cold, emotionless character who turned off his ability to care about people after experiencing a tragedy. But furthermore, what's true about both characters is that they do still feel deep down, it's just not apparent to everyone. However, what makes them different is that Freeze really doesn't care about human life, other than his wife of course, where Batman saves lives and does care about more people, even if he doesn't always show it. For instance, he takes children under his wing and adopts them, but you know what, we'll be getting more into that later. Now, tying these two together even more is that this dynamic wasn't always the case, as Batman himself has gotten more shut off as a character throughout the years, and Freeze has changed too. First, just being a generic ice villain, only to be upgraded thanks to Batman the Animated Series, giving him a brand new and more robust origin. Not only was this a boost for the character from a writing perspective, but Freeze's status as a Batman baddie was also propelled to higher ground afterwards as a result. In other words, the more they mirrored each other, the more prominent Freeze became. Okay, so going back to the whole Robin thing, there is a lot of talk when it comes to Batman and his corrupting the youth, shall we say. And Jarvis Tetch has never really been the most important member of Batman's rogues gallery, easily being passed over by Burton, Schumacher, and Nolan. The reason why I think this is the case is because his correlation to the Dark Knight's psyche has never really been leaned on enough. Now yes, there are incidents where the character has been used as a darker kind of villain rather than just a goofy thief with a hat obsession. And this is where I think the character is actually at his most terrifying. First, you can examine the character's use of mind control technology. Batman is often criticized for being manipulative, and the Hatter is just straight up controlling people's minds, which is definitely way worse. However, there is an even sicker side of the character that was presented in Arkham Serious House on Serious Earth, which gave a disturbing insight into the mind of the Mad Hatter. Following this, and other writers would take a similar approach with different interpretations, where the character of Tetch has a fixation with finding his true Alice. And this is where I think the parallel really lies. If some think that Bruce Wayne's intentions with his wards are questionable, then there is absolutely no doubt that the Mad Hatter is completely in the wrong. And finally, the Joker. Batman's biggest enemy, of course, has the biggest connection. What is that connection? Well, I say it's insanity. The long-running joke in Arkham Asylum is that there's always one room kept empty, a room that's reserved for the day that Batman himself gets checked in. But there is more to it than just these two being potential roommates in the future, because the funny thing is that the two reflect each other fairly well throughout their fictional careers. As Batman grew to be more campy, so did the Joker. But as the Dark Knight's fractured psyche began taking center stage, so too did the Clown Prince of Crime become more menacing. Furthermore, he also taps into a lot of the other connections that Batman's other villains have. As already discussed, he does have the mind of a genius, and when it comes to fear, it has also been said that when criminals want to scare each other, they tell Joker stories. And when it comes to having sidekicks and manipulating them, well, let's just take a look at Harley Quinn. But overall, I think Batman and the Joker's best connection when it comes to insanity comes from the Dark Knight Returns comic, where Frank Miller directly acknowledged that the Joker's behavior is completely correlated to the existence and actions of Batman. Well, there you go, the psychological breakdown as to why I think Batman's Rogues Gallery is the best of all time in comic books history. But what do you think of this concept? Let me know down in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe to this channel and give this video a big thumbs up. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, Dave knows.